Hello, buenas noches, and welcome to another episode of The Untold, the show all about amazing people. And I do iterate that another time because today we've had a previous guest, Maha. When we were talking to her off camera, she talked about all of her endeavors. So we were like, okay, hold on, we got to bring it back. With that in mind, she's back again, an artist, an architect, and a reader. We're going to be talking about her reading process, how she made a book club with her friend. If that sounds interesting to you, stay tuned until after the break. And we are back, dear viewers. Thank you, Alshimmery, for joining us again on another episode of The Untold. I
Thank
do
you.
want to thank you tremendously.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here.
Well, thank you. We are also glad to have you. I believe in the first episode, we've highlighted your role as an artist.
Mm.
We've talked about your sketches, your process. We've talked about how you deal with blocks, how you go through your process. So now let's go to the opposite side of the spectrum, right?
Mm.
You're also into writing and reading.
Yeah.
And so how did that come along?
Well, for reading, my mom is an avid reader, so books have always been there around me. Um, so I don't know when I started. I think I started reading when I knew the language. It sort of came into my life. It's sort of a natural thing for me and my sister. Um, and I've stick to it from then. Since I was 6, I'm reading up until now. Something that I love to do. It's a part of my life, like, eating and breathing.
Yeah.
I actually, reading is the same thing for me. There's always a book with me, and it's something that I really, really, really love.
It is, I'm glad that we're gonna dedicate this episode to focus on reading because I think it's a lost art,
Yeah.
especially to our heritage, as Arabs.
Mm.
We, throughout civilizations, we had so many, writers who have gone through the historical books,
Mm.
and now reading seems like such an ancient historical relic.
Yeah.
I would say unfortunate that I've started reading a little bit later on.
Mm.
I don't want to, age myself, but I started in the 20s. I'm way older than that by now, but I realize how reading is such a foundational, hobby or foundational skill to
Yeah.
have, even for your mental process.
Yeah. But I would say that there's a lot of pressure about what reading is. Um, there's over intellectualization over that.
Yeah.
I think reading is like a simple activity. It doesn't have to be that much of a thing, really. I think people are scared of reading, are scared of books. Um, I don't know why, but it's really much more simpler activity than that. And I wish more people understand that, like, reading is simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is simple, and I don't want to go on a long tangent here,
Mm.
but I was reading an article that said that social media, affected the wiring of our brains.
Definitely.
That's why people's, reading abilities have been affected
Yeah.
because, the constant loop of trying to see the next post
Yeah.
with those dopamine rushes, people don't have that when they're reading
Yep.
book. The dopamine rush comes on page 200,
Yep.
and you're not going to be waiting
Yeah.
for 200 pages.
Yeah.
So I think that's where a lot of people, are staying away from reading.
Yeah.
But let's go back to you.
Mm.
What do you like to read? If you're sitting
Wow.
down, what's your reading process?
I read a lot of things, so I read both fiction and non-fiction. I love reading novels. Um, I love magical realism. I love thriller, and I love fantasy. And on the non-fiction side, I love to read history a lot and philosophy. And recently, the past 3 years, I've been into self-development and psychology. So I love a lot of things.
Yeah, that's very, those are tremendous aspects
Yeah,
to, love and when it comes to reading.
yeah. But it depends on my mood, so I'll choose depending on what I feel at the moment.
And do you find yourself leaning towards Arabic novels, English novels, or
Well, I had my phases. So at the start when I was a child, it was like more Arabic books. Then I went right on into English for a very long time. And let's say the past 6 years, I went back to reading Arabic books, translated books. So I try to expand my horizon when it comes to reading,
yeah?
reading different cultures and reading both Arabic and English.
Yeah, I think, I'm in the same boat as you when it comes to that topic because for Arabic, I like to read a lot of poetry.
Yeah,
But then for English, I like to read,
more of the novels.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's where the specialties of those
Yep,
two worlds come.
definitely. Yeah.
Because English poems, honestly, I'm gonna say they suck. Right?
I will disagree with that, but
I haven't read.
but
I
I
mean,
understand
in comparison to
comparison to the
Arabic
Arabic.
language,
Yeah,
yeah. I do want to ask you, and this is gonna sound, it's like choosing a parent choosing their favorite.
yeah. Yeah.
Would you be able to choose favorite novels or something like on the spot, or is that something you'd like to take your time with?
Well, let's say when I was a child, because what introduced me to reading in English was Harry Potter.
Yeah.
That's a classic for everyone. I love the Spanish writers, so I love 100 Years of
Of Solitude?
Solitude. Yeah. Um, I love Saramago. His novel Blindness, I think it's one of my favorite. Um, so I have my different novels with different phases of life, let's say. And then on the nonfiction side, recently I loved reading Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by
Oh,
Dr. George Spenza. Um, and Dr. Imad Rashad, his books, I love them. Um, so yeah, I will take my time because I have different favorites through different phases of my life,
yeah.
but that's what comes to my mind.
And I also love how your first and immediate, answer was the Harry Potter books,
Yeah.
because a lot of people have the misconception that they are for children, but the actual prose, the language of those
Yeah.
novels are so beautiful.
Yeah.
Like I recently read the first novel, I think
Mhm.
last year, and I was so surprised and amazed by the language used.
Yeah.
It's so poetic.
Yeah, what grows with you because there are, I think, 7 books.
Yeah.
I read them. I don't remember what age I was read. I think I was in my teens. So the language and the events grew with me.
Yeah.
So it's very that book is very intimate with me.
It
Yeah,
is. It feels very emotional,
it is. Yeah, I cried a lot.
Yeah, and the thing that as someone who grew up watching the Harry Potter movies and loving them,
Mm.
the thing that I felt really sad about when I finished the book is like there were so many things, so many great things in the
Yeah.
book that didn't make it to the
Yeah, yeah,
movies. I
yeah.
was like,
That's the problem with reading and then watching the movie.
yeah,
Like how much you wanted this. There's certain scenes while you're reading, you wanted to see them on
yeah.
the screen, and they did not choose that. So yeah,
Yeah, it's funny because I was also reading All the Light We Cannot See,
yeah,
which is a great novel,
yeah.
and I can recommend to you if you want. And
I
then I
read
watched
it
the
and
TV,
I love it. Yeah,
and then I watched the TV show.
yeah,
It felt so bad in
yeah,
comparison. They omitted so many things. I
yeah,
was like, how can you take a great artwork and
yeah,
make something, average at it?
yeah.
Yeah. But that's, we're going all over the place. Yeah. I know in this, digital age, a lot of people prefer to read, whether it's on tablets
Mm,
or, hand printed books.
mm.
So where do you find yourself in those?
Well, for a long time, I was very like, I'm just reading physical books. I'm not going any digital. I'm against that. But then, why? Like, then I expanded myself. Now I read both of them, whatever is available for me. Like sometimes there are books that I cannot get, expect in a digital format. So you know what? I want to read the book. No, there is no need for it to be in my hand physically. As much I want the subject, I want the story. So I'm just gonna read whatever is available to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as someone who has read so many books, I know the saying is don't judge a book by its cover. But
Yeah.
let's be honest,
We judge the book by the cover.
every time you walk into a library, you're gonna be
Yeah.
judging a book by its cover.
Yeah.
So how do you pick a book? Let's say you're into a library, you're browsing through books that you don't know about. So
Yeah.
how do you pick something?
Well, I have first of all, start with the back. If there is a summary at the back, so read that. Then I'll open it from the front. If there is the table of content, then read that. And then I will just pick a page or read the first 2 pages if you have time
Yeah.
and decide accordingly.
I love how you said pick the first 2 pages because many years ago I was a participant in the book fair, Mara
Mm,
al-Kitab,
yeah,
and so many people made me furious because they would read the first 2 pages
yeah.
and the last 2 pages,
Oh,
and
no,
then they
no,
would decide
no, no,
to buy a
no.
book. I was like, why are you?
Keep the end out of it.
I was like,
Stick to the beginning.
yeah, they were cutting through 300 pages.
No, no, no.
Yeah, and then I asked one of them, is like, why would you ruin book itself.
Yeah.
They're like, if I like the ending, I'm gonna buy it to see how it came
No,
along.
no, no. The excitement of reading, especially novels, it's waiting for the end. If it's a non-fiction, that's okay.
Yeah,
But novels, no. Keep them deep, keep them mystery.
keep them mysterious.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, is there a book or writer that had an influence on you, right? That influence, whether it's your way of thinking, your way of life, or in your, as we've highlighted in the previous episode, in your artistic endeavors? Like, is there someone you can pinpoint?
Um, I don't remember right now a specific writer, but I would say the Spanish writers or the Latin American writers. I just love the way they write, and they always amaze me. Either the contemporaries or the classics. And I found myself always drawn to their writing. So I will say mostly Spanish writers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I asked that question because it's a little bit of a self-indulgent kind of question. Because for me, I was reading, I think it was called The Dubliners.
Yeah,
And then when I read it, I couldn't understand a word of it.
really.
Yeah, and then I was like,
Because
okay.
I'm planning to read it.
The English itself is very, I
Oh.
wouldn't say confusing, but it's very poetic, super poetic.
Yeah, yeah.
And then from reading that, I was like, I really want to learn all of there is about English.
Yeah.
And then I got deep into the progression
There's
of
always
English.
this one book that gets you somewhere
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So was there a book that got you somewhere else? Speaking of that.
Yeah. I don't remember right now, but yeah, sometimes it's a writer. Like I read one novel and then I want to read all of their books. Sometimes like a poetry and then I will read the whole volume, whatever that is. I don't remember right now, but definitely there is, yeah.
Yeah. And is there a book that you've returned to more than once? You know, you've liked it so much, you reread it time and time again.
When I was, I think 15, 16, there was this book. I hope I'm getting the name right, Black Lily. For some reason, I just kept on reading that. And then Dracula.
Bram Stoker's?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, yes, Blindness for Saramago. It's one of the novels that I like. What else? That's what's in my mind right now. Yeah.
I mean, for going back to read a book that you've already finished, it shows true, you know, signs of passion and
Yeah.
true signs of love for the craft itself.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people would read a lot of books twice unless those books have a lot of sentimental value.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, let's go back to some point you've highlighted before in the intro, is that you've also, with your friend, created a book club.
Yeah.
And so how did that process come along?
Well, we did start that for completely, she has her reasons and we're two different reasons. In her case, she wanted to stop gossiping, so she decided to read a book with her sister. In my case, she approached me like, I would like to start a book club. Would you join because you love reading a lot? The book club was about self-help books, and I really had the judgmental point of view toward these books. I was like, I'm not gonna read self-help books. And then I was like, why? I'm gonna get out of my comfort zone, again, expand my horizon with the book, and then I'm gonna start. So both of us started for different reasons, and then both of us loved it even more. And we just continue that for now. Like, I think we're going to 2 years now, reading more than 6, 7 books together.
MashaAllah.
Yeah.
I love how you highlighted the self-help books, because I'm someone who views those or viewed them before in a negative light.
Yeah.
And I do want to go more into that point. But
Yeah.
before that, we are going to take a very quick break. So stay tuned. And we are back from the break. Thank you for tuning in. And Maha, I believe before the break, we've gone into how you've established a book club with your friend.
Yeah.
And so I want to ask you, what was the initial goals behind establishing such a club?
We wanted to read books and discuss them together. Like, sometimes reading, there's certain books that you love to discuss with someone else, especially self-help books or anything that relate to human behavior, psychology, neuroscience. Like, you want to discuss that. You want to discuss your own point of views. What do you think? Or disagreement or your agreement? And I think that's what we both of us wanted, because at the same time we started both of us our own process of healing and self-discovery, and we wanted to share that together, and we have been friends for a very long time,
Sure.
so just let's add that into our friendship, really.
And so, did you find it helpful or a perspective changing experience when you've had this book club? Because I know you've mentioned before
Mm,
that you viewed self-help book as, something that's not really working, but then
yeah,
having this book club
yeah.
kind of changed that.
Oh, definitely. I had, like, within two big books in, the resistance stopped, and I really found the importance of them. And I figured out, like, as all books, really, there are good books and there are bad books. The same thing happens with the self-development or psychology books, or human behavior. There are bad and there are good, and you have to read them to figure that out. But they definitely helped me personally. So I kept on reading them, really.
And so, what would you say is the significance or the importance of the book club when it comes to the reading process? Was it sharing the experience with others or having someone that tells you you have to read this pages by this time or,
Yeah.
having the discipline? So, where did the book club come in your reading process?
Definitely the commitment, especially with the nonfiction books. Sometimes they are long, sometimes they are hard. And then the enjoyment. There is really enjoyable part, learning about different people, different opinion, especially when it comes to human behavior. I think it just expands your view or perspective, understanding yourself and understanding the people around you.
And so, would you say when you're reading a book, your thoughts and your perspective is different from when you're reading a book that's designated for the book club, as opposed to a book of your own liking?
No, because we both of us, we choose the books that we actually want to read. So that was one of the major rules between us. I would say unsaid rule, really. We want to read the books, so it really helps. Like, we want to read that, we want to learn. So it's no longer a job, no longer something that we need to do for the book club. It's literally for our own enjoyment.
And so, what is the thing that you've noticed that shined upon or shown in the book club? Is it better understanding of books? Is it better understanding of how to interpret your thoughts openly, or how to discuss a book openly? How to interpret the book itself? Like, how did it influence your, I would say, perspective habits?
For me, it was the discussion itself. Like, I'm no longer in my head on my own. It's much more wider. I expanded on that. It helped me understand more of the people, understand more of myself, and really understanding, like, concepts I've never read about them or never went through them. It's really interesting to have that with someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, have you found yourself in disagreement with someone's interpretation of a book before in the book club?
Yeah. We had a lot of that. Yeah.
And so, how did this influence, the way you approach reading? Is that knowing something, the same words are going to be understood differently by someone else?
For me, it is interesting. I love what people think about the same idea. But I find it very, very, very interesting. Yeah, and sometimes I've never thought of that. Like, it's given me a different perspective, even though I disagree with that. But it would be something that I did not cross my mind. So it's a benefit, sort of, in a sort of way. Yeah.
And so, would you say the time dedicated in the book club itself, when you're all together, is mostly spent discussing the book, having disagreements, analyzing the book, talking about the book? Like, what is the time dedication to it?
Um, it always starts with a sentence that we like, or an idea, and then the more we ease into the reading, the more we just becomes just a conversation, a
Yeah.
conversation about personal stuff, even. Uh, it becomes much more easier than discussing ideas or the language or interpretation. It's more of intimate conversation.
Yeah. And, speaking of conversation, I know that writing is a form of conversation.
Yeah.
It's you conversing with an audience. And in the previous episode, you highlighted how you sometimes write
Mm.
and make sketches, drawings in the same time.
Yeah.
And I believe our producer shared with us a little secrets that you plan on writing a book of your own.
Yeah.
So talk us about the nature of that. Like where's the process of that going?
The book itself?
Yeah.
Last year I decided to take a challenge for 100 days of constant writing, and I I did that for the 100 days, and it was very interesting. And sometimes through that 100 days, I there's some stories that started to come up. So I wrote short stories. So half of it was personal reflection on life, and the other part was short stories about cities and about people, about even work and like the everyday life. And I was like, you know what? And I had a great interaction on social media. So I was like, you know what? I want to turn that into a book, and I want to illustrate that with the drawings. And that's where the idea was born. Yeah, because I wanted to push myself into constant writing, and then I find myself, I want to do that as a book.
So speaking on your book itself, are you in that phase or that stage where you know what it is about, you know the idea behind it, you know what the structure of the book is?
Yes, I do. Um, the drawing part, not that much until now. But what I did is I did a draft and I give it to a publishing.
Oh, mashallah.
Yeah, and I'm still waiting for their opinion, and hopefully it comes to life soon.
I mean, but the intention is that it's going to be accompanied by your drawings, or
Hopefully,
those are going to
yes.
be
That would
separate?
be that's what I want.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully when I get the okay, the initial okay, then I can work on that.
And do you consider it a little bit hard to do when you've made the story and you finished the story? Now you're gonna go and revisit the story, but now as an artist,
Yeah.
trying to interpret those scenes, into
Yeah.
paintings.
There's definitely, I wouldn't say difficulty, but it is just a different process.
Yeah.
And if I sit with that, I already have the image in my head, even while I'm writing that. So I wouldn't say that I don't know the drawing completely, but it's just a different process. Like writing is different for me than painting.
And speaking of it being different, what would you say is harder?
For me, painting is harder.
Yeah.
For some reason, I think writing just comes easier. I can easily sit and write, but with the painting, it always take me longer. Yeah.
And if you're sitting down for the idea for the book itself, not the writing process, but the book, did that idea come from a painting you did, or did that idea come from something you thought could work as a story?
Usually the ideas for the writing or even the books that I would like to do from everyday life. Like I would say sometimes I have stories because I'm talking to my niece.
Yeah.
Talking to her, then, oh, I think I can turn this conversation into a story. Sometimes like daily lives, standing in the street, oh, there's a story in there I want to write. So it's everywhere around me. I want to turn them into stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love how that's a common theme in all of the fields that you're here on the Untold as a creative, as an artist, as an architect,
Yeah.
and as a writer. All of those fields are a form of storytelling,
Yep.
right? You're an
Yeah.
artist, you're basically sharing an emotion. You're telling a story behind an image.
Yeah.
Architect, you're also telling a story behind a building.
Yeah.
And then as a writer, it's a story by
It
itself.
always, yeah, it always recently it was like there's something with me and
And
stories.
storytelling.
Yeah, and storytelling and the idea of a journey, starting somewhere and trying to go somewhere else and find yourself. And the theme keeps coming back and back to me. And I find myself understanding my own process or my own creative project through storytelling itself. So it's a sort of the medium that I process things with, and at the same time it's the result or the product that I want to produce at the same time.
And so if you were to put on just one hat out of all of these, mediums,
Yeah.
which one would you say is the closest to your heart? Which one represents your style more?
Oh, that's hard. I will say I would always want to be a storyteller. If I want to choose one word, yeah, I want to tell stories. and feelings.
Yeah, and speaking of telling stories and feelings, I know you've said that the book is at the publication company.
Yeah.
Is that something you want to do again and again and again, or you're waiting for the results of this one? Like, have you found yourself completely immersed in the writing process? You immediately want to write something else, or you're gonna wait it step by step?
Well, sometimes I just want to do it and publish it and get it out, but this is not the process. But again, there is different kind of books. Like there is the books that needs a publishing company, and then there is the book that you can do on your own, and self-publish either online or just
Yeah,
in your own shop or your own products. So I think for me is sometimes I remind myself there is different forms for books, not necessarily the classical form that we know, and I try to just expand myself with with the concept itself. To I don't want to stick into one form, even though having a book with a publishing company is very interesting, but there are other forms of producing a book.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know now a lot of people prefer the online methods
Yeah.
of going, and I'm not sure we can discuss the products, otherwise I might get sued, and I don't really have a lot of money to fight it. But I know a lot of people prefer to publish it on, let's say, tablets,
Yeah.
because it has a, worldwide reach.
Yeah.
Is that something you consider yourself doing in the long run?
I don't think so. I think I love to produce a physical
Yeah,
book. Um, Even though I do read the digital format, I buy them myself, but as a creative myself, I think I will always like to have a physical book produced. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I think I can understand that, because for me, when I'm reading something digitally, I don't know if I'm dyslexic or something, but I can't focus on the words.
Yeah.
I see them blending into one another, and then I just find myself in
Yeah.
a game.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, how did that open up?
Yep.
But if I'm reading a book, obviously I can't swipe to a different
Yeah.
game. It's gonna be so
Yeah.
for me, I prefer the classical aspect of the reading. Is I know the publication companies now, they also provide the option of having it digitally. Is
Yeah.
that not something you want your book to be like, even if it's sold here locally? Do you also want it to be in a digital version or just, authentic?
I think I do, like, because I want people to read it.
Yeah,
Like if it could reach a wider audience, then why not? I'm not very particular in that because again, any writer wants someone to read them.
yeah.
So if that is gonna help with the reading, then I'm okay with that.
I think that's a very modest and humble, approach to the question. I do want to thank you, Maha, for joining us on The Untold for another episode. This has been hugely entertaining. I want to thank you again and again.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you, most importantly, and thank you to the audience for tuning in. We are going to take a break, so stay tuned. And with that, it's the end of today's episode of The Untold. Tremendous thank you to Maha for joining us again and again on the show. She was incredibly thoughtful, incredibly insightful, very educational, informative. I loved how the focus was all about reading because it's such a lost art. And talking about lost arts, that's it from us, the team of The Untold. Until next episode, goodbye for now.